What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I am back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the left side of the map in the blue color, playing as Odin. It is Skady. The man, the myth, the legend, even. Skady. His opponent today, Mr. Clean himself, playing as Poseidon. His name is Squash. If you don't know why I call him Mr. Clean, it's because he plays Age of Mythology very clean. He makes his villages look beautiful. He makes his farms look beautiful. His technologies are beautiful. Everything he does is insanely clean. This guy is he's definitely a janitor. We could nickname him Janitor because he was that clean. All right, so map is Marsh. We've got Poseidon versus Odin. If I go into this matchup with the blindfold on, I say Odin wins 90-10. Except this is Squash. It's not some scrub playing Poseidon, not some Italian stallion named Matrius. No, it's Mr. Clean. We'll see how this game's going to go. We've got some relics on the map. We've got ourselves the Mithril Horseshoes, plus 10% cavalry movement speed. This is a huge relic for both players in this matchup. If you get this relic, lights out. Going to be a terrible time for your opponent, because the big advantage that Norse has over Poseidon is that speed. This relic removes said advantage. It gives the Poseidon cavalry the same speed, effectively, as the Norse raiding cavalry, which is huge. If the Norse gets this, it's like they get a free 250 food basically, because they don't have to get themselves that Mithril Horseshoes, not Mithril Horseshoes. Is that what it's called? I don't even know. Thundering Hooves. They don't have to get Thundering Hooves, which is the Freya upgrade. And even if they do, then they go up to like 7.1 speed or something crazy. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's an insane relic. Anyways, so that one will be early. We've got Osberg Wagon here. This is a late game relic, but obviously incredibly big. You can make such a big advantage with that. It's not fair. And we also finally have the Bow of Artemis. Yet again, another really key relic in this matchup. Those archers costing less for the Greek player. Very, very important. So honestly, wouldn't be surprised to see all of them get grabbed really early. A super early Theseus wouldn't be surprising either. If you're Odin here, you'd hope that you'd be able to get yourself out a fairly early temple, and there's the temple, and get yourself that Herser out to grab this relic as fast as possible. So onwards and upwards, we have the pig scouting also here from Skady, taking this game very seriously. Definitely have to make sure you pig scout, as we've got Squash just about to get his Theseus out, I'm sure. There it comes, and this is going to be really close, actually. I think because the temple is closer to this relic, not going to be getting that one. That's going to be a thumbs up for Skady in this game, unless Skady decides to go Classical Age first, and he is doing that. He's going to give Squash that advantage. So the Theseus is out. Takes 20-something seconds here to get this relic. And the Herser still hasn't been built because the villagers... Oh my golly gosh. He's dumping the food in. The Theseus is wandering over here. And everything that Skady has done in this early game to get this relic away from his opponent has been undone by not getting that Herser out fast enough. And Squash is going to be incredibly happy now. He's going to be a very, very happy going Hippocon. You know how I say, you know what, there's not really a lot of point in going Hippocon in this matchup. Well, with this relic, there's no reason not to. Your Hippocon is as fast as your opponents. They are stronger than your opponents. They just cost more population than your opponents. That's a small detail. Whatever. Anyways, relic up for Squash. He's going to come over here, and not only that, going to get the Osberg Wagon, living the dream. And to further add insult to injury here, Squash has still got himself access to these hippopotamus. He's got himself a whole bunch of villages on wood over here. He's got himself, 8 villages on wood. So he's ready to spam those buildings down, getting himself the stable, getting himself the archery range. Even with the relic, he doesn't decide to go double stable. Who'd have thunk? Just go Hippocon Toxotes. Just go Hippocon Toxotes here with Poseidon. Why not? See the troll, the Bow of Artemis technology coming over here as the Forest Fire comes down, granting Squash to Militia for free. Not even for free, actually. Granting Squash. Wait, is this house going to go down as well? I love it. I love it. This is going to go down. Goes down. Squash gets himself 4 militia for the cost of 100 wood. I mean, he's not paying attention, but 100 wood for 4 militia, that's value. And your opponent doesn't have a classical edge god power. Bang, bang. Big brain plays by Squash in the early game. So we see the houses having to get thrown back up, but that's no big problem here for Squash. Going to be getting himself Hippocon. Toxotes as well. Comes over here, going to try and take down this house. Cause a little bit of problems for Skady. He's going to be starting to make himself some raiding cavalry here. No Ursa really getting built, but just raiding cavalry. No problems where that's concerned. Makes a lot of sense, especially if he's scouted out his opponent. Let's check out Skady's scouting. He sees this stable. He hasn't seen the archery range just yet, so if he hasn't seen the archery range, he might be tempted to go Ulfsark here, which is a big no-no. Squash, on the other hand, look at what he's scouted. He hasn't spotted much. He hasn't spotted the opponent's army. He doesn't know not to really build these Toxotes, but his army is gigantic right now. 44 population to his opponent, Skady, who's got 45 population. And if you know anything about the population in the Norse versus Greek war, especially on Marsh, Greek is normally behind on population. So the fact that he's even equal here in this point is huge for Squash. As he's moving out, he's going to be ready to take a fight. We see the raiding cavalry going elsewhere. Houses getting dropped in the middle of the map. I'd say this is a no-no once. I'd say it's a no-no in a million times. Got to build your houses at home. Send your Ulfsark home. Just do it. Live a dream. Live the dream. Squash going to be hanging in this position for a while now. I don't think it's going to be easy for Skady to get that population advantage that he absolutely needs. He's going to be searching for straggler units over here with these raiding cavalry, checking out this this granary over here. It's going to be difficult to get onto these villages, and there is a very nice escape route that he can do, exactly utilizing this one here to keep those villages safe, keep them gathering for as much as they possibly can. Very little amount of damage there from Skady. Nice play from Squash to keep this happening. Problem here for Skady, for Squash actually. I think it seems he doesn't have the resources to pump all of these units out. Is he making himself a centaur? He's just finally got one. There's the centaur there from the start of the game. Gonna look to try and take some of these raiding cavalry out in the near future. We see that Skady finishing up on this Auroch over here. He's got a very nice route into the middle of the map here to eat those boar. But this is nice from Skady, actually. He's taking the time to not get into too much trouble here in this game. As now you can even see the Hippocon are actually 0.5 speed faster than the raiding cavalry, which is huge. They're faster than the raiding cavalry. Who'd have thunk it? Mithril horseshoes. Best relic ever. The raiding cavalry are going to be retreating back. And essentially Skady here has just got to spam these units out. There's going to be a really big fight at some point, and we'll see how it's going to go. We see another stable getting thrown down here for Squash. He's seeing the enemy's composition, not too scared about the full raiding cavalry. I actually wouldn't mind a couple of Lone Wanderer, medium Ulfsark getting thrown into the mix here, especially against the mainly Hippocon army, but more importantly, because it's Marsh, see all that food that Skady's got in the bank. It's quite a lot. Spending those resources fairly quickly on Ulfsark here would make a lot of sense, but here come the Hippocon. This big raid now coming through for Squash, and those villagers are slow. The crocodile coming in to help out as well. But a nice raid from Squash nonetheless. And look at this. This is what makes Squash so good. Where can you actually at this point raid Squash? Nowhere. No way. This is fairly safe. And it's finishing up. Goldmine, can't really raid it. Woodline, can't really raid it. His fundamentals are on point. Absolutely insane. It's the raiding cavalry trying to get into you. We see the raiding cavalry swinging around the back of this army. The Toxotes is getting a lot of value here as Hippocon are darting back, picking off some of the straggler units over here as well. And it seems like this fight here is going well for Skady, but he's losing a lot of units. Population differential here is gigantic as Squash has got a huge advantage here. He's got the defenders advantage. He's got the Hippocon advantage. He's got the Toxotes are still firing here as Squash has managed to make a beautiful defense from what seemed like a half decent fight here from Skady. He tried to circle around the back of those Toxotes, but it just took too long. Hippocon have returned now to start hitting some return fire onto these retreating raiding cavalry, and Squash is just up nearly 40 population at 9 minutes into the game after that one little skirmish. that Skady tried to force there as those Hippocon weren't in his army. A beautiful defensive maneuver from Squash, and Skady has to be asking himself, what can he do now? As he's moving in, still trying to find some villagers to kill. 31 villagers for Squash, 33 for Skady, so Skady still has the advantage villager-wise, but he's going to be losing his entire base over here right now, as the raiding cavalry still losing a lot of HP in these raids. Especially, a lot of this is to do with that relic, mithril horseshoes here, absolutely changing things in this game for sure. Husbandry coming through for Squash as well. When you're ahead, why not? He's got all of these pigs he wants to eat, make sure his villagers are safe. He doesn't bother going for the outward hunt. Why go for this hunt when it's too difficult to defend? Just go into pigs, take your time. We see Thundering Hooves coming through for Skady to finally get himself a little bit of advantage where that's concerned. We don't see any infantry units in the home base here for Skady to rebuild those houses. 73 of 65 population, so he's currently popped and has no infantry to boot. So how does he make himself more houses? He doesn't. There's his houses coming up over here and over here. But more buildings getting taken down, and Squash is just having his way with absolutely having his way with Skady in this game, as the raiding cavalry do manage to get in onto these Toxotes. First real mistake of the game here from Squash, throwing around a couple of units there. He's going to be pulling back, regrouping. I don't think that's going to be enough of a win here for Skady to get him back into this game, but he's definitely going to keep trying. He's making this push, and he has got that mithril horseshoes, not mithril, Thundering Hooves has come through, so these raiding cavalry now 126 HP. Squash, on the other hand, just happily sitting at medium Hippocon. We've talked a little bit about this, but Thundering Hooves versus, or Spirited Charge versus simply just getting those armory upgrades, copper mail. It's better to get copper mail, better to get copper weapons most of the time. As the Hippocon mostly clean up those raiding cavalry here, and in that moment, Skady does decide to tap out in a very rare, as he's got this raid happening as well, in a very rare victory here of Greek versus Odin on Marsh. Nearly every game in recent memory I've seen on Marsh here, a high hunt variant of Odin versus Poseidon especially, but mostly even in Greek. Thank you so much for the 6 months grid runner. Appreciate you, my friend. But every recent game in memory here, we've seen Poseidon getting absolutely demolished by Odin players. Poseidon losing games. But this strategy here from Squash, and I think you can take a lot out of the building placement that Squash has done here. You don't necessarily need to build your buildings right next to each other. You can build your buildings with slight amounts of openings, because you can use those as defensive outposts for your archers. If you are making archers, that is. If you're not making archers, better to build these buildings right next to each other. Really smart. The other thing that I loved that Squash did, which I don't think enough Poseidon players do, is build houses on both of your wood lines. So when your wood line gets inevitably forest-fired, you get yourself 4 militia for next to no wood, and live the dream where that's concerned. But I mean, a beautiful play here from Squash. Nice decision to be going Hippocon, Toxotes. I think Skady didn't necessarily need to take this fight, and this game could have been drawn out a little longer, and I don't think Skady was necessarily in a losing position when he took that fight, but after that fight definitely was feeling the pain. I feel like he felt like he needed to take the fight because of those that cheeky raid onto his hunt over here, but end of the day, Squash too good. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.